Yo, what is up, all of you freaking video game nerds on the internet? My name is Josh. Welcome to Bonus Stage. We are here for a Let's Listen tonight with good friends, old and new. We have seen several of these faces, like two of these faces here on the show before. But there's a new form that they are taking tonight and in the future, and that is called Premium Vintage. Yeah, we've got Carrie, we've got Angel, we've got Mark here. How are you all doing tonight?
Awesome.
Yeah,
Wonderful.
doing great. I'm tired. Like
You've been busy. You've been
I've
busy.
been very busy. It's 9:00 in my time zone, Josh. I know you're just you just had dinner, and I'm sure you're feeling fresh and.
I'm still
ready to
having
do
dinner.
this.
Yeah, I'm having.
We're gonna do this, and then I'm gonna go to bed.
Oh well, what can I say to that? If you're gonna ask me to put on a show, it's gonna be in my time zone, and you're gonna be over here in my time zone.
That's fair.
Then
I'll be
it's
back
gonna
in a
be
week.
Your time zone.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've got an East Coast supergroup here tonight. Yeah, and we're here to talk about your debut album, the Symphony of Hades. Check out this wicked album art, everybody. My goodness, there it is. The three members themselves, clearly portrayed as members of the Greek mythology pathos. That's wonderful.
Mhm.
Yeah, so why don't we get started talking about what the heck Premium Vintage is? Is that like a reference to like an in-game item or something like that?
Yeah, Carrie should take that one, I think.
Sure. So I'm the one who pitched the band name. I had, knowing that we were doing this as like a Hades focused project, I wanted something that was related to Hades without being like explicitly Hades, I didn't want to make like an explicit reference to like Zagreus or to Hades himself or anything like that. So I looked through the list of boons that you can get in the game. If you haven't played Hades over the course of the game, you receive boons from the Greek gods that are essentially power-ups that help you along over the course of a run. And the one that really stuck out to me was a Dionysus boon called Premium Vintage. And what it does in the game is when you pick up a bottle of nectar, it also increases your max health. But I thought Premium Vintage was it was a cute nod to this group starting as a Hades group, but is also flexible enough to apply to hopefully other things, maybe more premium covers of vintage game music as we move forward.
Oh man.
See, Carrie's
right
like forward thinking.
I'm a marketing professional is what I am.
Oh man, absolutely. Well, I mean, okay, so we know how the name came about, but like what was the actual genesis of this group?
Yeah, so I guess I'll start with that one. So Carrie and I started talking about like collaborating on something like over a year ago. And then we were just kind of like bouncing ideas off each other, and we saw that the Game Grooves co-op album challenge was starting up, and like the scope of it basically was you would do an EP of like 5 or 6 tracks, and then you would co-arrange every track with somebody else. So we were thinking about doing that, and the idea that we had kind of got stopped in its tracks because the songs had to be licensable, and we were thinking of doing Golden Sun, of which it is not licensable.
Rip.
Yeah, it was F in chat like immediately. So then it kind of evolved. We might have just went right to Hades, because I think at that point, like I was playing the game for the first time, and like the game's probably 3 years old now.
I was also playing it for the first time around then. I started playing it basically fall of last year because the Baltimore Gamer Symphony Orchestra was doing our Oops All Indie season, and In the Blood was on was on the program. So I accordingly started playing a lot of Hades.
Yeah. So, and then I think it was at the beginning of this year too. And like, I'm just scatterbrained and all over the place. I was talking to Angel, and like he and I have worked together on 2-3 tracks now together. Just singles really. And I said like, hey, we should like start a band or something. And I was like shooting from the hip at that point, especially after just coming off of playing with Gunderslam at MagFest last year, and I had such an amazing time. I was like, we should do something. And then and then this and that and the other happened. I was like, you know what? Like this is it. This is the group. Like let's just do it. And I asked Angel to join, and here we are. And I think it was like a month later we started working on arrangements, and then it was kind of um, peaks and valleys because people were just so busy. And I mean that's just how it goes.
I had a lot
Especially
going
Carrie.
on this year. I had a
uh,
lot going on this year.
Yeah, and you managed to come to my house
I
twice to
did.
record bass over
Sure
a
did.
cumulative time of about 8 to 9 hours to record bass for this album,
Yeah, at
which is
least.
no small feat. Like this is technical stuff. So, but then like yeah, speaking of technicality, like Angel, like I would just like I'd give him a sketch. The process basically was I would come up with a sketch. There'd be some kind of drums in there, but then Angel would just like basically write his own stuff. And I really didn't give him a lot of parameters. I just said like maybe in this one part like do this, but then I really tried to stay away from telling anybody like really how to do anything. And in the past, I could be much more hands on, and like this time I was much more hands off, and that was absolutely the right thing to do. I mean, just everybody was so freaking talented, and obviously with Katie and Lacey, like I didn't tell them to do anything. I was like, here it is, and then they just returned magical things. So that was the genesis.
Right on. Angel, any experience playing Hades or any connection to the music for you? Or was it kind of like, I'm going to start from scratch and do my thing?
It was kind of I'll start from scratch. I've played the game a few times, a handful of times, but I've always been a huge fan of Darren's music.
Mm-hmm.
Whether I played his games or their games or not, so I love the soundtrack. But it was funny because this was kind of a surprise to me because I remember Mark. I think it was like last year. He was like, "You're like, dude, I don't think I'm gonna. I think I'm gonna focus on live shows for a bit. I'm not gonna focus on." And then he's like, "Hey, you wanna record an album?" I'm like, "Yeah, sure, let's do it."
Yeah, I remember like gigging with Mark towards the end of last year, and he was just like, I think now that I have this other album done, I think I'm really going to take a break and focus on getting my live shows together and doing more stuff with like a full band and like so that was a fucking lie. He just lied to to me and to
I lied to
himself
myself.
and to
Himself.
I
everybody
hear you,
else.
bro.
Yeah, I probably lied to Josh. I've told Josh many lies, so just
I've
a
heard
lying
all of your
machine.
lies, Mark. Yes. I think I've got video evidence of all of your lies.
Hey, we did that Gunderslam interview at VGM Con this past VGM Con, and like, who knows how many lies I told there? I was like, oh, I don't really do much, I just kind of showed up, whatever.
I'll have to go back and yeah, and expose you. Yeah. Oh man. But
There's a
like
joke there.
yeah. So you had the idea for, the group. You kind of had like a bit of a concept of what you wanted to do. Was it always like we have to start with Hades? I want to do a Hades album, or like what was the artistic vision for bringing the three of you together?
Well, I guess one way to look at it is, I think if people have listened to my solo act stuff, like they kind of get an idea of what the vibe is. Like, just go
Blood.
back to blood. Yeah, I'm addicted to it, and I I think I said to myself, it's like, well, do I really want to do that kind of stuff again, like for a game? And like I was actually on the fence about it, and but then I said to myself, like, well, let's like find other people to do, like, form a band, execute on the vision. Who do I know who can play bass? Who do I know who can play drums? Who do I know who can arrange for an orchestra? And Carrie can do two of those things. So, I mean, it's luckily there's been other musicians I've worked with in the scene that are multi-talented in that way. They can do more than one thing. So it's like, well, it just kind of makes sense to do that. So then probably at that point I started like then I start listening to the soundtrack more, and I'm like, oh, it'd be so cool like if there'd be like these really intense like strings and brass, just like really dissonant stuff, and yeah, it just snowballed from there. But I mean I can defer to the others on kind of how they approach this, like how they kind of their own creative vision to this.
Mhm.
Um yeah, I mean Mark approached me with the idea and asked me if I would sort of add in, the sort of orchestral layer to the other the bass track that he would sort of lay down, right? And yeah, over the last 5 years, I've done a lot of orchestral arranging. So I like to think I've got a pretty decent ear for that stuff. Despite, full disclosure, I don't have a degree in music. I don't have any kind of, real professional experience as far as that's concerned. But I did my best, and I'm really proud of what sort of came out of it. I think it sounds a lot like Mark. It sounds a lot like Angel, but I'm the one of the three who like hasn't really done much in the way of metal before. So that for me was kind of new. The orchestral stuff, people I think, even if they haven't seen a BGSO show, I think it's sort of at least known in the community that I do a lot of orchestral arranging. So I don't think anyone's surprised that I would be the one of the three to be handling that sort of thing. But it turns out I like playing metal a lot, and turns out it was very cathartic because I had a lot of things to be mad about this year.
Aw. Well, that's good. It's nice to have an outlet for all of that rage. What about you, Angel? You said you were starting from scratch. Like, did you have to like deconstruct a lot of the percussion in the songs to kind of like create your own vision for that?
It was interesting. So I got the songs. Um, we basically like I remember Mark. He had kind of put together and cut and like pasted the original into like what the final arrangement would be. And then he had some parts that were recorded of his own guitar playing, but I basically went off of that. So I kind of just went with what I knew of his style and like what we were going for, and then just kind of like put my influences on it. Like on this, there was a lot of like proggy stuff, there was a lot of heavier stuff, so I kind of pulled from like my Mike Portnoy reference, my influences are like my Pantera influences, Gojira, like kind of just pulled ideas from those, and there are certain parts in these songs that are like kind of a rip off of those drum parts, but like my twist on them, you know what I mean? So I kind of just pulled my influences on what I was pretty sure we were going for as a whole. It was a lot of fun though. It was a really cool way to go about doing it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just put a couple exclamation points on this. Like, Angel's a session drummer, so if you need him for anything, like, reach out to him. I've never been disappointed by anything he does. The other thing is like um, it can be daunting to mix and produce live drums. Luckily, Angel makes it pretty easy, but then again, like he did some things that like there's no way in hell I ever would have programmed. Like, I mean, you probably, but like I would never have the ideas to do what he did. So like, and as we go through the songs, like I'll probably call out some specific songs and tracks and part and sections where he's just doing stuff where it just sounds like he's a praying mantis with like 8 pairs of drumsticks, and it's really really impressive stuff. So I'll leave it at that because then I kind of want everybody to just kind of judge for themselves. And I know Rocky's out there who's our very amazing prolific drummer friend, and he's gonna he's gonna. I mean, I know he's listened to the album today, but like I'm sure like he says like, Angel, I see you. It's like, I see you. It's like, I know what you did there. It's like, I hear that Portnoy. I hear that Mario Duplantier. I hear all that. So
Yeah, shout out to Rocky, dude. I know he's in the chat.
yeah. Yeah, I figured if there's anybody out in the chat who's gonna squee over the drumming of this album, it's gonna be him.
Oh, nice. Oh
Oh,
my
Lame
god.
Genie's here. What's up, boys?
Yeah, yeah. What's up? The genies with the weenie. uh oh man. Well, I mean, apart from you three, you've also managed to wrangle some pretty powerful vocalists into some of the tracks here. Katie Scary and Lacey Johnson. How easy was it to pull them away from all of the busyness that they've got going on?
Surprisingly, not that hard. Like you know they're busy. Like everybody is. Um, but I mean, I guess my advice to give to anybody if you're going to collab is like plan out months ahead of time, not weeks, months. And that's what had to happen here. And it worked out because Lacey provided her tracks not too long after I provided the arrangement. Well, Carrie and I co-arranged everything, but once we combined our co-arrangement, I gave it to Lacey and Katie, and then Lacey returned her vocals not too long, and then of course Katie was busy But then that actually worked out really well because then she was like, "Oh, Lacey's doing this, so I'm going to harmonize this entire part and just kind of lock in with what she already recorded." And I didn't give either of them any direction really. Like they just really had the sketch of the co-arrangement.
Yeah, I think
And yeah,
basically
go
we
ahead.
sent them, what we had arranged as far as, what the bass guitars and drums were doing, and then the orchestral stuff. And then other than that, I think they just had sort of like the original tune for vocal reference. And so some of what they're doing on In the Blood, which we'll hear much later, is sort of true to the original in terms of the harmonies in there. But then, Katie goes really above and beyond as far as some of the harmonies go. Just really takes it in a different direction in a way that I thought was very cool. So.
Mm. I mean, speaking of like wine terms or something like that, just adding
Yeah,
notes
Angel's
of
out here
sherry
literally
and
drinking
oak.
wine
Yeah,
on stream.
Angel's on brand. Look at that.
Yeah, dude.
Oh my god, I got to get some wine too. Shoot.
It's actually blood. Sorry, Mark. This is for you. It's
Oh,
blood.
just
I just have this like thing associated with yes. Well, yeah, we talked about this on bonus stage for bonus stage ultimate. I was like, oh
yeah,
my god, was that like 3 weeks ago now? It's like,
yeah.
geez.
Was it only 3 weeks ago? Fuck.
Yeah, everything is just a blur this year.
Yeah.
Everything. But I think everybody understands that.
Oh
Dude,
my
you don't
god.
have to tell me.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think that's why I was just super impressed, obviously, by everybody's talents. But nobody said no. Everybody was timely in getting everything done. I mean, I am a bit of a taskmaster, but no, I'll take that back a little bit. Like, I feel like I didn't have to be. Like, everybody was just so professional that um, there was no such thing as herding cats or chasing people down in this. Like, I'm serious. It was just everybody was like, "Hey, okay, we'll get this done." Okay, might be a little late here. I was like, "Hell, I'm a little late with even my own stuff." So,
I think what
can't
was
throw stones.
really nice was that even in the sort of larger, I guess 5-person group that we ultimately had for some of the vocal tracks, was everyone was very communicative and everybody was very understanding. I think it helps that we are all, well-adjusted adults who are understanding that, sometimes life happens, right? I had a lot going on this year. I understandably hit some, bumps in the road as far as getting arrangements done, but Angel and Mark were very understanding of that. And everybody was just, very easy to work with, and ultimately everything got done. It was in on time, mixed, mastered, and put through the grueling licensing process to make sure that it was done and out today. So.
Right on. Yeah, it is launched today, folks. If you would like to grab your copy, if you haven't already, there's the link there's the Bandcamp link in chat. There we go. Well, we've only got 8 tracks to listen to today, but of course we know the Hades soundtrack is more than that. Did you just like whittle down the songs by what mentioned blood or what?
I think part of it was we sort of wanted it to sound like a single playthrough of the game.
Hmm.
We wanted it to start with, sort of the title screen and end with the credit sequence. So that's very much what we did. But there was some back and forth on some tracks, and we didn't just want to pick the obvious ones. We vetoed Good Riddance, I think, from the start. It was just like, we're not doing Good Riddance. It's been done to death. We're not doing it. And instead, so the vocal track that we did in lieu of that was Lament of Orpheus, which I don't think it's covered nearly enough. And I think it's a really standout track on the album and very much an underrated banger. Same deal with like, Scourge of the Furies. I don't think it's covered super frequently. I think people tend to do like Out of Tartarus instead. So there's some, I guess, obvious ones in there, and then some less obvious choices. I think it's a good mix that's representative of everything that Hades has to offer, personally.
Right on. Angel
Yeah.
or Mark, anything to add to that?
Yeah, there was well, we're still working on this, but we also intentionally kept the length under 40 minutes so that we could put this on vinyl.
Mm.
Yeah, so we're still exploring that. So we had to like kind of pick and choose, and there was we had the Exalted on the list to potentially do, but we cut it. So but then yeah, I think everything. I think Carrie said it best, is like, if you're just like going to play through the game from the title screen to the credits, then that's exactly what the album is. And yeah, I wanted to put like another exclamation point on Lament of Orpheus, because I mean, now Katie's here, so we can sing her praises. But yeah, I kind of really felt like especially after I listened back to that after putting together the first mix, I was like, this is like, this band has a sound. And we took a song from the soundtrack that was like very foundational, but we really twisted it. So obviously Katie's the star of the show as our solo vocalist in that song, and I mean, you're gonna hear what we, I think, what is very representative of what we sound like when we get to that track.
Right on. Well, before we get there, we're going to listen to the first two tracks on this album. We've got No Escape and The Painful Way. If you're all ready to go, then let's
Listen.
Oh.
Strong start from a strong album. Wow. No escape and the painful way. That's some pretty intense shit, I gotta say. Well done. Well done.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Oh man. Yeah, lots of cool sounds in there. I was gonna say like, yo, Mark, who played sitar on that, but it turns out it was you.
It was me. We were talking about this earlier, but I had the idea of, I was like, well, I mean, Ro Panaganti plays electric sitar, so like I should just ask him, and I'm sure he would have said yes. But then I was like, well, I mean, logistically, it's probably easier if I could just do it, especially if we're gonna play a live show, and like I may not have somebody who, like, I don't know any other electric sitar players, so I
There
bought
aren't
this.
many out there.
Yeah, yeah. So I bought this. I bought this just for the painful way.
What does that say? Ravish
Oh,
sitar?
it's probably showing up back. I don't know if it's showing up backwards
No,
on.
no, no, not for us.
Okay, all right. At least on stream, it's showing up correctly, but it just says Ravish Sitar by Electro Harmonics, and this has been around for like a decade, and this is like the only solid sitar emulator that I could find. So, like there's a couple other ones that I've looked up on YouTube, and they just didn't sound anything like what this sounds like. So I was like, this is it.
Yeah.
So
Did you scoop out the frets on your guitar too, or what? Scallop
uh,
frets?
yeah, I'm extremely extremely scared to touch anything on my guitars,
Oh god.
except to just tune them.
Oh my gosh. No, seriously though, like nice heavy start. Love everything that we've heard so far. You guys have some really sick album art. I mean, I'm joking around here with all the blood, but it still looks pretty on brand. You guys have got that dripping premium vintage into like a gothic font, and there's a story behind the this illustration as well, I'm told.
Yeah. So this is my fault. Um, so, if you haven't met me, my favorite guitarist in the world is Jack White. I've always been a huge fan of his work across all of his projects, and for me, probably the most, I would say, foundational album for me when I was really starting to get into playing music and learning how to play music was the White Stripes album Elephant, which turned 20 this year. So the cover art for Symphony of Hades is actually a riff on the cover art for Elephant. If you put them side by side, you'll notice a great deal of similarities between the two of them. Um, it's just, we have a third person, which is, represented by Mark as Than in, behind the other two of us. But yeah, it was meant to be a riff on Elephant, which of course, the White Stripes are not a metal band, but I feel like Elephant is one of those covers that it's just kind of endured, and I wanted to pay a little homage to sort of my favorite album by having it be a riff on Elephant.
Nice. I'm trying to make a tie in any way of like White Stripes, Elephant, Premium Vintage. There's nothing. It's just
There's
you,
nothing.
Carrie.
I'm a dork, and it's what I wanted to do.
Oh man, but you've got like some other really cool like art assets here. Like you've got this little logo thing, and you've got the logo for the band itself, which is really cool. Can I ask who has been doing your album art?
Angel, why don't you take that one?
Yeah, I got you. So she goes by Sludgework. You can find her at sludgework.com. She's on Twitter under Sludgework. I think every social media platform she goes by Sludgework. But I've been following her for a while. I've always really been a fan of her artwork and her logos. And um, when we were thinking about album art, she was the first person that I thought of. We had a couple of people, in mind, but we just landed on her, and she was super receptive and very on time with everything. So it just worked out. So between Carrie's idea for the artwork and then picking Sludge Work, it worked out. It Sludge worked out. Sorry, I just had to.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the body is willing, but the mind is weak. I
Yeah,
don't know what.
very.
Yeah.
Oh
Oh my
boy.
god.
Yeah, so Josh, I know you were showing the art in the stream, but we do have physical CDs for sale at our Bandcamp, and they just showed up. So yes, that's the cover art, which is the riff on the of Elephant by the White Stripes, and then yeah, we have the logo on the inside. Just a quick a quick story about Lerny here. We had a thought of putting this on the cover somehow, but it was too busy, so then we just moved it.
Yeah, I
We,
believe originally we had Lerny where like the hanging light
yeah, it was like
bulb
up here.
is.
Yeah,
Yeah, it would have been in the upper right hand corner, where if you see the elephant cover, there's like a light bulb hanging from the ceiling. And it was just a little too busy to have that there on the cover with the premium vintage logo and with the title. So he got relegated to sort of turning into a secondary logo for us and being put
yeah,
on the CD itself.
yeah. But I think it worked really well
Oh
here,
yeah,
and then he's on the back
he's on
too.
the back.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just really really awesome job by Sludgework all around for everything really.
Yeah, right on. And hopefully we'll get to see some vinyl too. That's really cool. Yeah, and I think I
It's
saw.
definitely a work in progress. I've pitched this album to a couple of folks who have seemed interested, but unfortunately, due to the very lengthy lead time on vinyl production, like the earliest that we think we would maybe be able to have this sort of turned around and out and available to the public is probably sometime over the summer. So we're
It's
going to work on
very.
it. We're going to keep you posted.
Yeah, vinyl's very expensive. It takes a while to manufacture, and then it's also a huge bitch to ship. So I think everybody understands, and it'll be well worth it once it's ready. Yeah, but I think, what is it, Ian Martin? If you're watching, I think he said that he already got the notification that his physical copy has shipped. So that's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got all the physical copies on Saturday, and I was actually going to mail all of them that day, but the little postal uh, shop, their label printer broke, so I had to wait till today. Yeah, exactly. Shakes
Yeah.
fist.
At Cloud. Yeah.
So yeah, everything got shipped out. Everything got shipped out today. Hopefully, everybody gets their CDs in the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 days, no matter where you are in the country. Um, actually, before I forget, I wanted to make sure that I talked about Rocky's question that he
Oh
asked in
yes,
the
yes.
chat. His question was it difficult to arrange the painful way after playing it with Gunderslam? So Gunderslam has his own arrangement of the painful way, and obviously I went into some bias when I started arranging this, and the log jam broke when I just basically ripped off Dream Theater. So so Angel's like, oh, I just played a bunch of Mike Portnoy. I was like, well, I just ripped off Home from Dream Theater.
That explains it, dude. That's what
Yeah,
it.
like the wah wah that's in there, like that's pure
Oh man,
Petrucci, man. So then Carrie came in with the orchestral layers, and that just kind of stepped everything up and set it apart from even more than the Gunderslam version. So that's how it started. It was basically, oh no, I'm stuck. Was like, all right, I'll just rip off somebody else.
Oh man, that's the secret to originality, is obscuring your influences.
Yeah, I made it, just gave away the game there, but then I think any one of us will gladly admit, maybe not gladly, but will admit that there's some borrowing that happens.
Oh man, absolutely. Well, you gotta put your love on your sleeve, and shout outs to all of your favorite bands. We're gonna get going into the next couple of tracks here. We've got Scourge of Furries. Oops, I mean Scourge of the Furies. Uh, I don't know
I
what
think I made
Scourge
that
of.
joke on social media once. I was like, am I pronouncing the name of this title, the title of this song right?
Oh my gosh! And then we're gonna listen to Lament of Orpheus, which is featuring none other than Katie Scary. Shall we?
We shall.
Then let's.
Let's listen.
Listen.
Hero God's my desperate plea to see my love beside me. Sunk below the mortal sea, her anchor weighs upon me. Fasten her tether unto me, that she may rise to sail free. Close enough that light we can see. My doubt retreats, the better of me. A glance to the stern, it's all it would be. That anguished shade shall hold me. Calm seas, winds early, but now the squalls are upon us. We're foundering,
Hell yeah, super powerful, awesome job, Katie. Scary. I know you're in chat, but yeah, really fucking powerful voice there. Lots of like power metal kind of vibes coming through. Loved it. And Scourge of the Furries wasn't bad either.
I feel scourged.
Oh, I couldn't help it. Oh my god. But yeah, yeah, no, the sound that you're talking about, the sound of premium vintage there in the Lament of Orpheus, that is exactly everything that you hope it would be. Is that right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'll be honest. Like, I think prior to working on Lament of Orpheus with Katie, like we were kind of like getting there in terms of like, okay, this is what we sound like. But then like that was the one that like really sealed it. And that was like the second to the last song that was mixed. So yeah, that was and I just remember telling the rest of the group, whenever I came up with the first mix, I'd say, hey, listen to this, tell me what you think. And then I just normally I wouldn't say anything about it, so I don't lead them the wrong way or the right way or whatever. And this, I just kind of said like, Katie overachieved on this, like, then I just kind of already like led the witness by that point.
And now we all have to meet that measurement. Yes, wonderful.
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing about working with Katie on this was that when she gave me her vocals and they were like layered and stuff, like she gave me like a starting point. I was like, hey, like, pan this way, pan this that way. This goes down the center. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I just did what she said. And then like I might have tweaked a couple things here and there, but like I mostly just kind of went with like the way she would produce her own vocals. I was like, awesome. So it wasn't just lending Katie lending her vocal talents to us. It was like her production talents too.
Right on. Well, yeah, no, it sounded solid. The power, like I said, it was right there, and that definitely comes from experience and vision and expertise. Thank you very much, Katie. Well done. Yeah. Do we want to get into the tone zone?
Yeah, we're going to the tone
We're going
zone.
to tone zone. Oh man.
I'm gonna let I'll let Katie go first. Not Katie, Carrie. Carrie go first.
That's fine. Probably
Carrie,
because I have
Carrie.
the least amount to say. Ultimately, I was recording direct into Mark's setup. So I used I have a 5 string. I really put it to use on this album. I'm definitely primarily known for playing weird little short scales that people really haven't seen before, like my Dan Electro Longhorn and my Ampeg AMB1s. They're weird and they're not super commonly played. I like them a lot, but for this, I have a Sterling Music Man 5 string, which I had bought in, I guess, like mid 2020, maybe early 2021. And I got a really good deal on it, and I bought it because one, it was cheap, and two, I was really trying to do a toe jam and Earl arrangement with quick save, and I needed the extra low end. And I figured, it's probably better to at least have a 5 string, even if I don't play it a lot. It opens a few more opportunities for me. And I think for me, the big game changer on that particular bass was about a year ago when I finally put flat wounds on it. I've always been a sucker for flat wounds. I don't like round wounds at all. I think they don't last very long, and I don't think they just don't sound very good for very long. Flat wounds have a very unique tone about them. I find them more comfortable on my delicate little fingies, and I just prefer them. And then running that into Mark's setup, and then having him, just sort of give it that particular kind of tone, definitely lent itself really well for this album. As far as how I'm going to recreate that live, I've got no fucking idea.
I got you. Don't worry.
Okay, look, I've got a bass big muff that can probably make it sound pretty crunchy. So we'll experiment. We'll figure it out.
Nice, Mark. What was Carrie's signal chain on that?
It was pretty straightforward. So yeah, the first time Carrie came over, she brought both her basses, her 4 and her 5 string, and I said, hey, let's just plug both of these in and see what they sound like. And then when she hit the 5th string, like a low C, because like a lot of the songs are in drop C, and when she hit that like in through the signal chain, like it just growled. I was like, that's it. So anyway, it's quite simply just going into a DI box to neural DSP's dark glass. And I've been using that for my own stuff for, yep. It's almost like a meme in the metal community to use dark glass for bass, but it just sounds so good, and it just went so well with just the way Gary's bass sounded. So yeah, you just put the right amount of grit on there, and you EQ that thing, and you're good to go. And it's like, why mess with it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. All right, who's gonna talk about their tones? Who's gonna nerd out?
Yeah, I've got more to share on tones, but Angel can tell us about his drum.
I mean, yeah, I guess for drums it's a little more straightforward. I just got a 5-piece DW kit. nothing crazy symbol wise, just two crashes, a ride into China. I think the China is one of my favorites. It's for somebody who myself, and I don't know if if the chat's gonna like this or not, but I'm not the biggest Red Hot Chili Peppers fan. But I the musicians in the band are amazing. Just as a group, I wasn't a big fan, but Chad Smith's China symbol is just chef's kiss. I feel like for recording, especially for metal and rock. Um, and then, I have a little studio setup. I've got an 8-channel Tascam interface that I plug into my Mac, and everything, all the mics plug in directly to that, and it's just plug and play.
Hit record.
Yeah.
Lovely. How much do you wind up the skins before you give up? How many?
Honestly, nothing too crazy. The snare, I like, I like it to be pretty tight. But yeah, nothing too crazy. And I guess it all depends on like the style of what I'm playing. But I tend to play rock and metal anyway, so it's the same really. But yeah, man.
Nice. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
So one major change that I made for my tone for this album was I was pretty much like all neural DSP for every project before this. But around this time last year, Gunderslam, he said to me, "Hey," because like we both have the Line 6 Helix. So I had just got one around this time, and he said, "Hey, you gotta try out this amp called the Badonk." And I was like, what the hell is that? Sure enough, there is an amp model on the Helix called Badonk. And I turn it on and it just sounds awesome. So and it's proprietary to Line 6, and then we played our show at MagFest, and like that's the tone I used. And then you can actually get all that stuff in a plugin. So then I just dropped it into my signal chain for when I was mixing my guitars, and it was just I was like, holy crap! I was like, that was also the first time like I took that tone, and you double the guitars left and right and pan them, and like just the way it just kind of meshed together was like something otherworldly. And the one quick story I'll tell was when we played again at Pittsburgh Gaming Expo back in October, Psycho Stick was there, and I started getting to know their bass player, super nice guy. And we just started talking about, he just started asking me about guitar tone, and he hadn't even heard us play yet. So I said, "Hey, I got the amp's called the Badonk." He's like, "What the hell is that?" And same reaction. So I was like, just watch us play, listen to us play, you'll know. And then we meet up again later after our set. He's like, "Dad, tone is awesome, man." So yeah, that was kind of the secret sauce for rhythm. Oh, well, you might have heard it, but like the long sustained notes is the EBow. So
yeah.
I started using, this is the first time I've ever really used an EBow. And in the original songs that Darren Korb did, I'm pretty sure he used a theremin, which is that like touchless magnetic field kind of thing that kind of makes that woo sound. And I was like, I don't have that, so I'll just use an EBow. And then I throw in some Digitech whammy in there in certain parts, which I'm sure some people have probably picked up on already. But yeah, I mean, I can keep nerding out forever. And oh wait, one more thing.
Here he goes.
Yep, the Glockenspiel made a return.
Oh wow, nice.
So yeah, I use this on my Bloodborne album, and you will hear this again on God of the Dead. So
hell yes. Oh my god. Well, we are nearing to that, but we are not quite at God of the Dead yet. Our next two tracks are going to be Final Expense and The King and the Bull. I haven't played Hades. I don't know what any of this source material is.
Final Expense is when you hang out with Charon. It's the shop theme, basically. But I want to say our arrangement sort of falls between shopping with Charon versus choosing to steal from him and fight Charon. It's an interesting sort of take on the track I like a lot. And it was, I think, the first one that we had done. It was one of the earliest tracks.
it was pretty early.
And King of the Bull, I've said this very frequently since talking about this album. King of the Bull is my favorite track on the album. I think it is a really solid encapsulation of the sound of really just the three of us and what we can do instrumentally. So,
well, hell yeah, I'm ready to get into it. So
let's
Listen. Yay.
teamwork. Oh, that last one gave me some serious stank face. Uh, holy shit! Yeah, I can see why somebody would want to say that is their favorite on this album. Well delivered, all three of you, honestly.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, there were definitely some parts in there that that veered off of the original, and but then again, like I knew, like, especially as working with Angel in the past, like our Earthbound track that we did together, I was like, hey, can you do all this like crazy Gojira shit? And I was like, oh, he can do that. Okay, we're just gonna have to do that again.
I may cramp up, but I'll do it.
You'll cramp up for Mark. Oh, that's sweet.
Oh yeah, he's worth it.
I don't know what the innuendo is there, but I'm just gonna move
I
on.
think we
Yeah,
both had
my imagination is
on
running wild.
behalf of doing things for Mark over the course of this album. Honestly, like playing the 5 string, which has such a much thicker neck, I was just like, my hands hurt. Like particularly by the end of the second session, which I think it was like we didn't have as many songs, but it was I still had to do like King and the Bull, God of the Dead, and Scourge of the Furies all on the same like tracking day, and it was like we would do a song, and I would be like, I need a break. Like my hands hurt.
Oh my god. Well, that kind of segues naturally into what we wanted to talk about at this break: the production and the mixing process. Oh my god. Well, everything sounds crisp, sounds amazing. Mark, I presume you did a lot of the mixing yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
then pass it
So
on to, of course, Eric Peabody for
yeah,
mastering. I
like
mean, why would you?
the man.
Why would you not? Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's the same as far as that part of the process. It's always been the same. Like I mean, he taught me almost everything I know about mixing and a little bit of mastering. But I mean, anybody here who does mixing, like if you get an opportunity to work with a mastering engineer that's not you, then I would recommend it just so you have another opinion. And yeah, so like he would catch things and be like, okay, yeah, this doesn't sound right, this doesn't sound right, and he would catch like some really obscure, hard to hear audio errors sometimes. But yeah, and then once we fix problems, then he does the mastering, which just makes it more beefier, heavy, sounds good everywhere. I mean, it's just freaking magic. But yeah, I mean, I would say like even prior to that, one thing that was really nice about this was that with Carrie being able to come over, I could work with somebody in real time during tracking and production,
Which
and
is not a chance that you've had often in
yeah,
many of your
not
projects. Yeah.
yeah, I would think in the projects I've done over the years, like that hasn't happened very often. So that way, you know, we can collaborate in real time if we need to adjust something. Like there were some riffs that like I can play on a 6 string tuned to drop C, but are not very. They're just not practical on a 5 string and standard. So then we kind of had to like work out in real time. I was like, what do we do different? And but like Carrie knows her
Yeah,
instruments. So,
especially when the goal of of doing anything like this is ultimately like, man, like we really hope we get to play this live somewhere. It's like, sure, I can try and punch something in for the sake of a studio album, but then I would have to try and like fake it live. I'm not a huge fan of doing that. I wanna be able to replicate what I played on the album. So it was definitely sort of working out certain riffs and like, okay, well, how do we change this in a way, like do I do a fill somewhere else, do I adjust this, that, or the other, to still stay true to ultimately the spirit of the original track, um, without necessarily sacrificing too much for the sake of playability. So it was a good process, even if I had to drive on the Capitol Beltway in order to do it.
which is a nightmare. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, there was that, and then yeah, I mean, when I work with Angel, like you know, I say, hey, here it is, and then he just gives me 8 stems back, and they're just so well performed. On the mixing side, there's some sampling between his kick and snare. His toms I left unsampled, like they just sound awesome on their own. It's just some EQing and compression. Yeah, I mean, I think getting Angel's drums right, as far as mixing and production is concerned, was like it truly is the foundation of the sound that led to everything else. Like, and then you put Carrie's bass tone in there, which just like really meshed with the kick, and just really brings some power to some of the riffs and the sections in these songs. But I'll let Angel kind of talk about like what, because that's a black box to me. Like I just say, hey, do something back, but I don't know what happens in between, so he can talk through that.
Well, like, Angel, were you given any like scratch tracks or anything from either Mark or Carrie beforehand, or were we just kind of going in blind?
There were some like minor scratch tracks, like basic ideas of what to do, or like I kind of had the original drum parts for the original songs as ideas. But then I basically would just kind of deconstruct that, and then over, like, let's say he would send me the song, and over a week or so I'd listen to it over and over again. My process is just like tend to just memorize the song as much as I can, because I'm not a song like a note reader. Like, I just play everything by ear. So I would just literally memorize it and then go in and just hash it out. And like Carrie said, I'm not much of a like, I don't like to punch in as much. Like, I like to just, if there's a spot, if there's a break in the song, I'll use that as like, okay, I can maybe do this song in like two halves or something, just to like, I'm not killing myself or getting less cramps for Mark than usual. But um other than that, it's just really listen to it, memorize it, and go in and just crank it out as much as I can.
Mm-hmm. Right on. Well, and it
Yeah.
worked. I mean, yeah, just into your own little Tascam, ship it off to Mark, and he does the rest, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that's like super encouraging is that like we have a pretty good workflow at this point. So we're gonna be
Already, your debut album already got
yeah.
a great workflow. Well done.
Yeah, and rest assured we'll be working on stuff together in the future. So, and like I'm just thinking in my head, I was like, we're just gonna do the same thing we did last time, like probably same steps, same mixing template. And the other thing that I was like unsure about too in the beginning was like, okay, Carrie's gonna give me all the orchestral layers, but I was like, how is that gonna work? And
Right.
um she just gave me MIDI, and then I might have to like adjust a few things here and there, but then I just slapped Metropolis Arc 1, which is a very awesome orchestral library. And that's how that came to life. And I was just amazed. I was like, wow, like they basically gave me an orchestra. It was so cool.
I think the biggest difference for me in arranging orchestral stuff for like this project versus arranging for like a real life orchestra is I had to reel back my tendency to be like, okay, well, like I didn't have to arrange for like 65 real individual people. I could have, I just had to click horn section. Cool, now I have a horn section and I can do one line for the horn section and I can put harmonies within this one staff rather than having to do it for like 7 different parts, right? So that was nice. It really made things a lot easier, only having to arrange, maybe in the grand scheme of things, 4 or 5 different stems worth of stuff rather than like 60, which is what I'm used to. It made things
Nice.
a lot easier. Um, but yeah, I mean, as far as the sort of digital orchestra that we went with, I think the biggest thing was just having to sort of adjust for like the attack on some of those instruments. A lot of digital strings, it doesn't have that like hard attack. It sort of like swells into the note a little bit. Same thing with the horns, and so we had to sort of I say Mark had to make adjustments based on that because I caught that sort of sound happening in our earlier mixes, and I was like, this doesn't sound quite right, and having to see if there was anything I could do on my end in the MIDI to like make that attack happen. Um, but yeah, I mean, technology is amazing. I love only having to arrange 4 stems instead of 65. It makes my life a lot easier.
Oh my god! And I can imagine an easier job for you too, Mark, on the marking or on the mixing side of thing.
The marking, yes.
On the marking side, yeah, just grading everybody's MIDI inputs.
It was also super helpful to, especially like when I did a first or second version of a mix, just to bounce it off of bandmates. Like, I mean, in the end, like Eric would be the final checkpoint, but just having like just others around me that could listen and provide feedback was super valuable too. So I mean that's a part of the workflow. It's like nothing goes to Eric until we as a group feel comfortable with it.
Yeah. Nice. Well, shout outs again to Eric. He does an amazing job. And if anybody wants that job done for them, go to him, please.
Yeah, he does everything. I just happen to use him for mastering, but he can do it all.
There we go. I still have a Viking guitar command.
Yeah,
There it is.
nice.
Yeah. Well, look him up. I mean, that's all like his general Bandcamp stuff, but you'll find where he's at through all of that, I'm sure. We have 2 more tracks to go to, but we're just going to listen to one for now because it is kind of a beast.
It's
We
like
have
8.5 minutes.
8.5
So-
minutes. God of the Dead. Yeah, I mean that's about Hades himself. Am I right?
Yep.
Yeah.
And this is the song that plays during the Hades fight, and as far as the album is concerned, it's the penultimate track. So
Right on. Well then, let's
listen.
come on, Angel. You can do it.
Listen.
Holy shit, that is epic. That must be an apt representation of fighting Hades himself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the original song off the soundtrack is like over 9 minutes, and we did but we did leave it most, I would say, pretty much mostly intact from the original in terms of because like there are three distinct parts in the original, like the kind of that slower, somewhat heavy stuff, and then the very thrashy, faster part, and then like that outro. And the song that mostly reminded me of is a favorite song of mine. From Porcupine Tree called "Anesthetized." It's like 16 minutes, but it has three distinct parts, kind of like God of the Dead does. And
Mhm.
that's, I actually like was kind of thinking about that as as I was arranging my guitar parts. Um, I feel like some of some pretty creative things on the orchestral side happen. That when Carrie gave me all those MIDI files, so like yeah, there's just all sorts of like little brass flourishes and stuff. So um, yeah, that was a fun one, but I think I was in a studio for maybe 8 to 10 hours in one sitting with breaks, mixing this, doing final tracking and mixing that song. That was the hardest one to mix. Just, but I mean, it's like three songs in one. So
Yeah, no, that's a huge beast. Yeah, what was it like to record all of that? Like, did you have to kind of punch in a little bit, or were you like, no, I'm gonna get it all in one 8.5 minute take?
No, this was done in chunks for
Yeah.
sure. At least on my part, I was just like, all right, so we're gonna go from this measure to this measure, and maybe a few beyond that, and then we'll stop, and then we'll restart at this measure, and sort of keep going, and but it wasn't like a ton of teeny tiny chunks. It was like maybe done in like three, maybe four sort of like chunks. Yeah, it's a that's not an easy song to play, but
well,
um,
one thing I
just
can
from like
say.
both from like a technical perspective and a pure endurance perspective, like there's a lot going on in that song. I'm very fortunate that the outro does not require much from me in terms of technical playing ability. I'm playing a lot of whole notes in the outro, so that's great for
Yeah,
me.
I think everybody gets a break in that last part. So oh, the one thing I was gonna say was probably one of the most valuable skills you can learn in mixing is editing. A lot of editing went into that song. I'll admit that I have trouble sometimes. Just rhythmically, like on rhythm guitar. So like there's just one part of that song where it's just it's just like straight eighth notes. But then like so I have to record it twice to pan left and right, and like it just sounds off, like really off. So it's like, okay, I'll just retrack it. And I still can't get it. It's like, okay, time to edit it.
Yeah.
Good, done.
Oh man, yeah, just set your warp points. Hey, computer, humanize it a little bit, or like don't humanize at all. Perfect quantization. Oh my god. What about you, Angel? Were you in it for the whole 8 minutes?
No way. No, that was at least I think two, if not three parts. And if I if I remember correctly, especially the last part, I'll have these like crazy drum grooves or parts that I'll want to knock out, and like it'll always happen where like I'll get it, and then like the last part I'll flub apart, and I have to do the whole thing over again. And the few times that my wife has actually helped me like film video like drum playthroughs, and she see me get just I'll just like throw the drums and get like super pissed, and like because it's such a physical like aspect to like especially that the end part is just a lot of like a lot of crazy drumming. So yeah, it was definitely at least two or three parts and maybe 4 or 5 takes, but it was definitely worth it. The end result, I was super happy with it, and especially with everybody's parts that how what they achieved on Carrie and Mark on their parts during their playing. It was super worth it. It came out really good. So
Yeah.
yeah, but that was definitely not a one taker. That's I wish.
Well, you must
Until we
all be
do it
looking
live.
forward to.
Then it'll be one take.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was gonna say, yeah, you must be looking forward to performing for sure.
yeah, I can't wait.
Oh man. Well, I think we're gonna talk a little bit more about that after the last song. We do just have one more, and it is the track that you have used for promo, "In the Blood." everybody, the PNG, the clear, like transparent PNG that you see behind me with the blood is, obviously an attribute to Mark's love of blood, and the last song on this album is called "In the Blood," and it's featuring Lacey Johnson and Katie Scary again, getting the strong vocals on this track, and yeah, I'm really excited. Is there anything that you would like to say before we get into
I
it?
just want to give a quick shout out to Jacob Deven, my former QuickSave band member and also a member of the BGSO. He had arranged In the Blood for the BGSO last year, and he provided me with his arrangement to sort of use as reference for our version. So just huge thank you to him for throwing that my way. It definitely sped up the process and gave me a solid foundation of which to base my own arrangement off of. So thanks, bud.
Thanks, shout outs.
Yeah, I think the one thing I'll just say about this one is, I mean, obviously, Katie and Lacey killed it, but I kind of feel like where the orchestral parts in this really shine, in addition to the vocals, and like this was also a song where I felt like I could take a back seat for a while, which I was totally cool with because it's like everybody else is just doing way cooler things than me, so it's like, okay, I'll just kind of chug for a while and like maybe do like a riff here or there, and then that's my arrangement. And this was, as far as like my parts were concerned, less is more was the right approach. So
Right on. Yeah, just build a platform, let the singer stand on it and shine, and the orchestration as well. Hell yeah. Well, in that case, we are going to listen to In the Blood. Let's.
listen.
Yay!
Yes, listen.
Face It's in the blood. It's in the blood. It's in the
Holy shit. Yeah.
It's the closer.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. Oh my god. Katie, Lacey. Fucking tops. Tops. Top tier. S tier.
Yeah.
Everything else, shit. Just kidding. Oh my god. But yeah, that's a way to close an album and to make people want more as well, I think. So yeah, that's premium vintage. That's the Symphony of Hades. Yeah, well done, Carrie, Angel, Mark, everybody involved. This has been a solid debut. Yeah, I don't know what's coming up next.
I mean, we've got the physicals, so that's really exciting. Again, you can order those through our Bandcamp. They're perfectly reasonably priced. They're $12 for a physical CD. I think we're also going to do a cassette run. So looking forward to exploring that. I'm a big fan of cassette runs, if you haven't noticed from my other band. And then, as Mark mentioned, I know we're in the process of pursuing a vinyl release. But yeah, I mean, what's next is live performances of this album, and then determining what the next sort of project is going to be for Premium Vintage, I guess.
Oh man, I assume
Yeah,
it'll be
and
something
yeah,
blood
lots-
and or wine related.
Yeah.
Yo,
Premium blood.
sorry.
Oh.
Theology's coming in.
Theology's coming in. What's
And
up,
yo,
Theology? With
oh,
the whole
boy.
crew.
What's going on, man? Way to hop in at the last minute.
Yeah, exactly. They came in after all the music happened. Whatever. Thanks for rating Theology. Buy our album.
Yeah.
Yes, buy our album, everybody.
Oh my god.
You must just hawk everything again now. Now
Yeah.
that we have all these.
We'll
new
just put the VOD on replay.
people.
Oh no, but yeah, you were just about to talk about the possibility, nay, the perchance of performing this album.
Yes. So there is something in the works, but you know how this works. We can't really go into details yet. But one thing I will say is that Carrie mentioned doing the cassette run, and just like she did with Byscore, we'll probably throw an extra track on there, which is probably the one that we cut. So just for time, and I mean. We never got around to arranging it, but I've been thinking in my head of like, okay, I think I know what to do with this, and we have a workflow. We work super easy together. I think it's going to be a nice addition to the cassette run. Yeah, and then beyond that, it's just going to be whatever the next project is, and it could the most logical leap would be to do Hades 2, but we'll play the game and we'll see where that lands.
Yeah.
And anyway, so that's Premium Vintage as it exists today.
Right on. Maybe you can find something else within the Greek mythology pathos.
God of War.
I mean, again, I like to think that the band's name sort of would allow us to, again, do premium covers of vintage games, right? So there's plenty out there that I think could be interpreted in the orchestral metal stylings of this particular trio. So I have absolute faith we'll land on something interesting.
Sparking debate on the difference between retro and vintage, I think could make for some good marketing conversations. Oh
DuckTales.
man.
Look,
It's
look,
got to have
we've
blood.
done crazier time signatures than 15/8. I'm sure we can pull off Moon Theme in a wild new way.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well, sick. That's it then.
That's it.
That's it. Thank you for rating at the Last Minute Theology. Thank you everybody else who was here the whole freaking time for this Let's Listen, debuting Premium Vintage's new album, Symphony of Hades. Please go and grab it over on Bandcamp. Go and get a physical copy for yourself. Look out for VHS. Oops, not
Betamax,
Betamax.
Laserdisc,
Oh man, SNES cartridges,
Yeah.
8-track.
illegal ROM distributions, etc. Um, and look forward to more from Premium Vintage. I don't suppose there's anywhere online where we should be sending people outside of Bandcamp, is there? You don't have much of a social media.
Bandcamp's the sort of big one right now. You know, I'm sure we'll put together. We've got like a link tree or something maybe, but yeah, we chose not to put together like there's like a YouTube, I guess, that hosts.
Yeah,
our promo
we do have a
videos.
YouTube, which is all the promos that we did.
Yeah, and like maybe
that's where
we'll
they
do
go.
some like visualizers for some of these songs and
Exactly.
whatnot. We'll promote that on our socials, but otherwise just follow the three of us. I'm Suffix Carey. Mark is Mon Plays Music. Angel is Masochist. I believe we are the same on that across all socials. So on Instagram and Twitter, and these two I think have TikTok. I don't. Um, I refuse. But yeah, I mean, you can follow us individually. We'll be talking this stuff up, and if people demand a centralized location for premium vintage, we will consider it, and then probably not do it because I don't want to run another Twitter account.
Oh god.
So I'm done doing that. I'm tired of it.
Awesome. And we are done here tonight, folks. Thank you so much. If you want to come hang out for another listening party, we're having one on Wednesday for Ron and Op F. He's got a Link's Awakening live performance mixed with lo-fi beats and stuff like that. If you know Ron and Jay, he's a cool dude and he has cool music. And we are going to be listening to that album on Wednesday, same time, same place. So until then, we'll see you next time. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Good night.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.